Hey Dodgers fans, we've got some intriguing updates coming your way that are stirring the baseball world right now. The 2026 offseason is shaping up to be one of the most talked about periods in recent memory, and there are a few names making waves that are impossible to ignore. One of those players, and arguably the most debated, is Framber Valdez. For those who have followed the MLB closely, Valdez is a pitcher with undeniable talent, capable of performing at an elite level on any team, but his career has recently been marked by controversy that raises questions beyond his stats. Last season, fans and analysts alike were left scratching their heads after a particularly unusual incident where he crossed up his own catcher during a game, leading to some major discussion about both his skills and his approach to the game. While the specifics of that moment remain somewhat debated, the visual evidence alone sparked a conversation about what kind of teammate Valdez is and whether organizations should weigh those character considerations as heavily as his performance on the mound. Despite the controversy, there's no denying Valdez's potential to make an immediate impact wherever he lands. Teams around the league are aware that he can be a game changer, a pitcher who can take over a start and keep hitters on their toes with a mix of velocity, movement, and command. That said, the uncertainty around his character has been enough to make several teams hesitant to move forward with a long-term commitment. He's 32 now, and while some pitchers find a late career renaissance, others face challenges maintaining consistency both on and off the field. Valdez's second half of the 2025 season was less than ideal, with a 5.2 ERA after the All-Star break, but many understood that the Astros were moving on from him regardless. The bigger concern is the trust factor within the clubhouse. Can a team, particularly a pitching staff that relies heavily on coordination and communication, rely on a player whose prior incidents have drawn skepticism? That's where the debate intensifies, and it's what's keeping Valdez on the market longer than expected. Looking at the Toronto Blue Jays, the potential fit seems, at first glance, intriguing but complex. Their 2026 rotation is deep, stacked with names like Dylan C.E., Kevin Gausman, Tree Savage, Shane Bieber, Cody Pond, and Jose Brios. Each of these pitchers brings stability and competition, making it difficult to figure out where a new addition might slot in immediately. Yet the argument for Valdez isn't necessarily about the upcoming season. It's about the years beyond. With some key contracts expiring and options uncertain, having a proven left-handed starter locked in could provide a sense of continuity that the Blue Jays will value highly. A player like Valdez, if acquired at the right price, could anchor the rotation through 2027 and beyond, offering both reliability and flexibility for future planning. The challenge, however, remains the human element. Baseball isn't just about numbers, and for organizations like the Blue Jays, the personality and character of a player are almost as crucial as their talent. Valdez's prior on-field incident with Cesar Salazar, the reactions from both players, and the surrounding contract negotiations have made teams wary. Even if the event was a one-off mistake, the optics and the way it unfolded suggest a level of risk when it comes to team chemistry. For a clubhouse that prides itself on cohesion and mutual respect, the possibility of internal conflict can be a deal-breaker. The Blue Jays have historically prioritized the kind of environment where teammates support one another and where veteran players contribute to the culture both on and off the field. From a strictly baseball standpoint, bringing in Valdez could be advantageous. He's capable of holding his own in a competitive rotation and could slot anywhere from second to third in the starting order, giving the team a reliable lefty without sacrificing too much flexibility. Yet the balance between talent and character continues to shape this conversation. While some fans might argue that a player of Valdez's caliber should be welcomed regardless of personality concerns, front office decisions often go beyond the box score. The integrity of the clubhouse, the trust between pitcher and catcher, and the overall team dynamics carry immense weight in these decisions, particularly when considering a multi-year contract. Outside Toronto, interest in Valdez spans multiple organizations, but there are two teams that stand out as frontrunners: the Baltimore Orioles and the New York Mets. The Orioles, with a rotation that could use depth and a high-caliber starter, see Valdez as an opportunity to bolster their staff immediately. The Mets, under a regime willing to invest heavily in pitching, also appear positioned to pursue him aggressively. Beyond these two, teams like the Detroit Tigers, San Diego Padres, San Francisco Giants, and Atlanta Braves have shown varying degrees of interest, but Toronto's potential involvement is complicated by the unique mix of talent, depth, and organizational philosophy. For the Blue Jays, the calculus isn't about capability. It's about whether adding Valdez aligns with their culture, their strategic vision, and the long-term stability of their pitching staff. The discussion surrounding Valdez also raises broader questions about how teams value player behavior versus raw ability. Some fans prioritize the on-field results, believing that baseball is a meritocracy where talent should supersede personality. Others point out that trust, communication, and locker room harmony are critical components that cannot be measured on a scoreboard. In Valdez's case, the incident with Salazar, while potentially accidental, has amplified scrutiny and caused teams to weigh the risks more heavily than the immediate benefits. It is a situation that exemplifies the delicate balance between skill and character, a debate that will continue to unfold as the offseason progresses and as more details emerge about where Valdez ultimately lands. At the same time, there's the consideration of cost versus value. Valdez's potential contract expectations, likely seeking a multi-year commitment with a significant average annual value, place him in the upper tier of the market. Comparisons have been drawn to players like Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette, who navigated similar negotiation landscapes, but with differing results. In Valdez's case, organizations must determine whether his pitching talent justifies the financial and cultural investment, particularly when other, arguably less complicated players are available for similar or lower costs. This makes the situation a high-stakes gamble, one that requires careful evaluation for management, both in Toronto and across the league. Beyond the numbers, there's the intangible impact on teammates. Defense, effort, and morale are all affected when a player causes tension within a roster. A player like Valdez, whose presence could create uncertainty or friction, might inadvertently affect overall team performance, even if his pitching remains elite. Front offices recognize that these dynamics are subtle but consequential. Decisions aren't made solely on ERA, strikeouts, or wins. They're made with an eye toward the long-term health of the organization, both on the field and in the clubhouse. The Blue Jays, who value community engagement and team cohesion highly, are particularly sensitive to these considerations, making Valdez's potential addition a far more complicated proposition than it might appear on paper. At this point, the conversation around Framber Valdez is far from settled. Fans, analysts, and team executives all have differing perspectives, weighing the immediate talent against the potential risks. For Toronto, the opportunity to bring in a proven lefty is tempting, but the realities of character, team chemistry, and organizational philosophy may ultimately outweigh the allure of his pitching stats. Across the league, other teams are monitoring the situation, ready to act if the right conditions arise. But for Toronto, the decision isn't as simple as it might seem. The story of Valdez is a reminder that in professional sports, talent and behavior are intertwined in ways that can shape careers, team strategies, and fan expectations alike. Continuing with the conversation around the Toronto Blue Jays and Framber Valdez, there's another layer to consider: the timing of potential signings and how that intersects with other roster moves. The offseason is a whirlwind, and teams must act strategically, balancing immediate needs with long-term planning. For the Blue Jays, the core of their rotation is strong, but there are cracks in terms of future certainty. Shane Bieber is on a one-year deal, Kevin Gausman is entering the final season of his contract, and Jose Brios has an opt-out clause, leaving a fair amount of unpredictability. Bringing in Valdez could serve as a stabilizing factor for the rotation, giving management a left-handed starter they can rely on while navigating upcoming contract expirations and potential free agent departures. It's a strategic hedge against uncertainty, ensuring that the team maintains competitiveness even if other pieces of the rotation shift unexpectedly. The discussion of Valdez also brings up the intricate dynamics between pitchers and catchers. A strong relationship between these two positions is crucial for a successful season. Cross-ups and miscommunications can lead not only to immediate mistakes on the field, but also to tension that lingers in the clubhouse. The incident between Valdez and Cesar Salazar last season is a perfect case study. While some argue it was an accident, the visual cues, the reactions, and the aftermath painted a picture of potential friction. For the Blue Jays, who have cultivated a tightly knit group, introducing a player whose prior interactions raised eyebrows could jeopardize team chemistry. Catchers like Alejandro Kirk, veterans who are known for calling solid games, could face added pressure if a pitcher doesn't fully communicate or follows a different approach than expected. This is not just speculation. It's a real consideration that can influence performance, morale, and ultimately, wins and losses. Financially, the calculus of signing Valdez is another critical factor. The pitching market in this offseason has been competitive, with several high-profile players seeking substantial contracts. Valdez's projected deal would likely demand a multi-year commitment with a significant average annual value, comparable to some of the top free agent signings seen recently. Teams must weigh whether investing in a pitcher with elite skills but potential character concerns is worth the financial outlay. Comparisons to players like Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette illustrate how negotiations can pivot and adapt, and for Valdez, securing the right contract is both an opportunity and a challenge. Management has to balance risk and reward, considering not just performance metrics, but also how a player's presence influences the rest of the roster. Meanwhile, other teams are closely monitoring Valdez's situation. The Baltimore Orioles and New York Mets appear to be leading the pack in interest, each with their own strategic reasons for pursuing him. The Orioles, in particular, could see Valdez as a cornerstone for a pitching rotation that lacks depth, while the Mets have the resources to make aggressive offers and the willingness to absorb any potential personality concerns. The dynamic of multiple teams vying for his services adds a layer of urgency and uncertainty. For the Blue Jays, it becomes a question of whether they can or want to compete with those offers, and whether the potential reward of acquiring Valdez outweighs the possible disruption to team culture. Off the field, organizations are also evaluating the broader implications of a signing like this. Players are representatives of their teams, not just on the diamond, but in the community as well. The Blue Jays have a significant presence in Canada, and the way their players interact with fans, engage with youth programs, and maintain professionalism off the field contributes to the organization's overall reputation. Valdez's ability to fit into this environment is just as important as his ability to throw a strike or record a strikeout. A player who causes friction internally or externally can create long-term complications that outweigh even the most impressive stats. Teams are increasingly recognizing that character and behavior are essential components of player evaluation. But before we move forward, don't forget to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest news about the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the news, so drop a comment below. Rumors are swirling around the Dodgers clubhouse as whispers of a fractured locker room grow louder. Sources close to the team claim that tensions have reached a boiling point, particularly between the veterans and manager Roberts. According to insiders, several seasoned players are reportedly frustrated with what they describe as soft decisions in past playoff games, fueling a sense of unrest that could have repercussions for the team's upcoming campaign. Veterans, who have been instrumental in guiding younger talent and maintaining stability in the clubhouse, are said to be openly questioning Roberts' strategic choices, especially in high-stakes situations. While the Dodgers front office has publicly maintained that the team remains united, multiple reports suggest that a quiet storm is brewing behind closed doors. Some players allegedly feel that the manager's conservative approach has cost the team critical momentum in decisive moments, sparking frustration that lingers long after the postseason. The atmosphere, according to sources, is tense and somewhat divided. Younger players reportedly sense the discord, but remain cautious about taking sides, leaving the clubhouse dynamic uncertain. Fans and analysts alike have started speculating whether these internal conflicts could influence on-field performance, particularly as expectations for the Dodgers remain sky-high. The pressure to deliver another deep playoff run only seems to exacerbate the existing strains, raising questions about whether Roberts can effectively navigate the growing divide. Meanwhile, the media has begun to circulate theories about potential shakeups, including shifts in coaching strategy or even personnel changes, though nothing has been confirmed. Observers point out that maintaining harmony between veteran leadership and managerial authority is a delicate balance, and the Dodgers situation might serve as a test of Roberts' ability to keep the locker room cohesive under pressure. As rumors continue to mount, the Dodgers face more than just opponents on the field. They are contending with an internal narrative that could define their season before it truly begins. How the team addresses these murmurs of dissatisfaction and whether Roberts can regain the trust of his experienced players remains one of the most intriguing storylines in baseball this year. That's all for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay up to date with exclusive news about the Los Angeles Dodgers, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We always appreciate your comments and feedback. See you in the next video.